Year's honorees include scholars who span the discipline and have made extensive contributions both within the AMA and across other organizations and institutions. We're going to briefly hear from all of them tonight. Each fellow has also recorded a video available on the conference website. They're very inspirational and encourage you to take a look at them. To kick off the event, we begin with our first ever fellow from a European university whose work, example, and generous mentoring has helped shift the mindset of the German research community and has elevated that community to participate in the global marketing discussion, Professor Christian Homburg. To introduce Dr. Homburg, we welcome one of his former students, Dr. Sebastian Hohenberg. Sebastian is Assistant Professor of Marketing at the McCombs School of Business at University of Texas.
Okay, hello everyone, can you hear me? Okay, I see you nodding, perfect. Hello everyone, I can't tell you how honored I am to speak about a person whom I deeply respect, greatly appreciate, and whom I owe a giant debt of gratitude. This person is Christian Homburg. Christian was the chair of my dissertation committee, and he still is an important academic advisor to me. More specifically, it is my task today to speak about Christian's influence on the discipline. Christian likes to describe himself as a quantitative person. After all, he is a mathematician by training. So here are a couple of quantitative facts about Christian's impact. He has published 38 articles in Marketing A journals until today. He has over 54,000 Google Scholar citations. He's ranked as number 4 in terms of research productivity in AMA premier journals. By these measures, Christian clearly is one of the giants of our discipline. In addition, I would like to share one observation that further illustrates Christian's impact. As a young PhD student in my first year, I asked Christian about this worrisome thing that I had just read about, the rigor relevance gap in marketing. And guess what is Christian's opinion about this? He takes the view, quote, the rigor relevance gap is merely a language barrier between academia and industry. And this view is clearly represented in all his work, ranging from academic publications to his entrepreneurial activities. Besides being a marketing professor, Christian is the founder of one of the largest German marketing and sales consulting companies. This company employs more than 100 consultants today and is specialized at research-oriented consulting projects. With this special path, combining high-level academic research and implementation in industry, Christian clearly addresses the rigor relevance gap. More importantly, though, it has always been one of his core priorities to teach his students how to bridge the language gap between academia and industry. Until today, Christian has been the dissertation committee chair of over 75 doctoral students. Around 30% of the doctoral students have pursued successful academic careers. Notably, however, 70% went into industry, the way more common path for German PhD students, by the way. And many of them hold leadership positions in their companies today. Therefore, Christian in particular addresses the rigor relevance gap in a very unique way, namely by developing young talents on either sides, academia and industries. And these talents can navigate within and across the two components of our disciplines because they are fluent in both languages. Finally, let me tell you something about Christian that you might not know. If Christian had not become a leading marketing scholar and entrepreneur, he would probably be a professional singer today. Likely a very successful singer, of course. This prediction is because Christian loves to sing, and notably, he does not just sing for himself or under the shower like many of us may do, but instead at the end of official events, like the annual holiday party, the department excursion, or recruiting events, he likes to get on a stage with a microphone in the hand, interpreting either French chansons or songs of his favorite singer, Frank Sinatra. With the famous words of Frank Sinatra, I would therefore like to close. Christian, you are indeed doing it your way. And along this way, you are inspiring so many people to follow. Everyone, please join me in congratulating Christian to be named a 2021 AMA Fellow.
Thank you, Sebastian. I don't believe that Christian is here with us at the moment. I think it's because it's the middle of the night where he is. But perhaps we'll be lucky enough the next time he's with us to hear him sing. I can really hope so. Thank you for that wonderful welcome and introduction. Next, we move to a scholar who's a standout in the marketing strategy realm. Dr. Beth Walker spent her career researching the interdependencies across functions, business units, and managers using qualitative and quantitative data to highlight pressing issues with both academic and industry relevance. To induct Dr. Walker, we welcome Dr. Mark Houston, a colleague of Beth's from Arizona State University. Mark is the Eunice and James L. West Chair in Marketing and Professor at Neely School of Business at Texas Christian University. Welcome to Mark.
All right, Kay, thank you very much. I don't know if Monica has promoted me back to the stage yet or not, but it's a pleasure to be here. Beth Walker checks all the boxes. You know, when you think about what it takes to be named an AMA Fellow, Beth is an impactful scholar, as you noted, a Maynard Award winner. She's had a huge level of contribution to the AMA, chairing the conference, serving as academic council president, serving on the board of directors. And then number three, she's old. Okay, well, I'm just kidding about the last one. I'm actually 2 days older than Beth. That's a fact that we discovered in my first semester as a PhD student at Arizona State, where Beth was a young assistant professor and I was assigned to be her RA. So I've known Beth literally since my first day as an academic. It's an honor to introduce her because Beth has been and is still a mentor to me. She's always been, 5 to 6 years ahead of me in this academic career path. And she, to this day, is still the first person that I call for career advice. Before I go further, I think Beth would agree with me that it would be completely irresponsible if I failed to note that both Beth as an assistant professor and myself as a doctoral student were and continue to be mentored by Michael Hutt. I think Beth and I, if you observed our behavior, it's as if we wear a virtual "what would Mike Hutt do" bracelet on our wrists. But knowing Beth this long and watching her career at ASU and now as dean at Colorado State has given me, I think, a fairly unique vantage point into why she's had such a major impact on the people that she interacts with and on the organizations that she leads. You might say it's her organization and persistence, both of which are quite impressive. I mean, I saw that when we worked on papers together. I saw that when we co-chaired AMA back in the day when to do the conference schedule, you would have Post-it notes and you'd stick them on walls and try to arrange the conference schedule in that way. But I think there are really two other reasons that are much more fundamental to Beth's impact. First, Beth Walker truly cares about people. She's not naive, but she sees potential in people. She hopes for the best in people. And I think that's a great trait. When you interact with Beth as a doctoral student, and I think a lot of people, Karina, Michelle, Dimitri, Ed, Mark, and many others, or when you interact with her as a colleague, and I'm sure Mary Jo and Beth and Mike and Ajith and Amy and a lot of others, again, would agree, you're motivated to be your best. You're motivated to do your best. And I think that's just a great trait as a leader. Secondly, I admire Beth because she's remained true to who she is. Success as a scholar, status as an administrator haven't changed her. I mean, for Pete's sakes, the Colorado Chamber of Commerce named her one of the state's top 25 most powerful women. I mean, what kind of a cool honor. But she's still Beth. She treats people with respect, and not just peers, but staff members, students, the families of all of those people. Beth is always interested in what's going on in your life. Some leaders keep their distance, but Beth is not afraid to be a friend. Deans have zero downtime, but when you talk with Beth, she's got a gift of focusing in on you, and you'd never know how long her to-do list is. Being named an AMA Fellow is an honor that I think is well deserved in this case. Beth has impacted her field through scholarship, through service, and through being a genuine and authentic colleague. So please join me in congratulating my friend Beth Walker in being named a 2021 AMA Fellow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, so much for those kind words. I knew when I thought about what you might say about me, Mark, I knew the age thing was going to come up because that is something that always has bothered you, has gotten under your skin. How is it possible that you were older than me? But it's just a fact. So someday you'll grow to accept that. But thank you so much for those kind words, Mark. I want to thank the AMA Fellows Committee for selecting me as a 2021 AMA Fellow. I'm deeply honored and truly humbled with this very special distinction. So thank you very much. And I also want to congratulate my fellow inductees, Christian, JB, Debbie, Dave, and also my friend Jerome. And I know Dante, his son, is on this call. And Dante, we haven't met, but just a couple words about Jerome. Jerome was one of my most long-standing friends in the discipline. I was at Penn State as a PhD student when he joined as a faculty member. I believe it was his first assistant professor job after completing his PhD at University of Colorado. Right away, he was a friend and mentor to me. And over these many years, I've come to depend on him. He's been always there for me, as so many other people have said about your dad. So I'm honored to be part of the class in which he was inducted. It's a very special thing indeed. So I also want to thank all the folks at ASU. Mark mentioned I started my career at Arizona State University, and so many people there were so central in shaping my career. My research area, as Mark has mentioned, is centered in the marketing strategy domain. So when I joined ASU, right away, I met Mike Hutt, and together, along with so many wonderful doctoral students, including Mark, and he mentioned Michel Stewart and Dimitri Kapelinas and Karina Trosh and so many others, we started a research agenda centered on questions that, marketing strategy related questions that were important theoretically, but also made a contribution to business practice. And over the course of all these many studies, we had so much fun. We met so many great people, and it's just a lot of people to thank in that regard. In addition, a cornerstone or foundation of my career are the Center for Services Leadership and the W.P. Carey School of Business, Mary Jo Bittner, Steve Brown, Amy Ostrom, such wonderful colleagues. But it was really through the Center for Services Leadership that I got such a wonderful start working with companies, addressing their problems through research, and it really provided a platform for the rest of my career. And as I think back on it, it's made me a better educator, it's made me a better administrator and a leader because of that connection that I had to the Center for Services Leadership. Those companies and that work and those people were truly special. And now finally, as Mark mentioned, I'm now the Dean of the Business School at Colorado State University, and work now with an amazing set of marketing faculty there who continue to do research that is relevant, that is valuable in many regards. And I look forward to seeing what we can do together at CSU. But just in sum, I'm truly humbled, honored, and thank you so much to the selection committee for including me in this year's group. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Beth, and thank you, Mark. We move next to JB Steenkamp, who developed the theory of global branding, the role of perceived brand globalness, as well as consumer culture positioning. I'm pleased to announce that JB is also the winner of the 2021 AMA Irwin McGraw-Hill Distinguished Marketing Educator Award, which he'll be accepting at this summer's AMA. Congratulations, JB. To share some insights into Dr. Steenkamp's work is his former student, Michel Wedel. Michel is the Distinguished University Professor and PepsiCo Chair in Consumer Science at the Robert H. Smith School of Business at the University of Maryland. Welcome, Michel.
Thanks, Kay. Good afternoon, everybody. Monica, could you allow me to share the slides? I have a few slides to share. So it's my distinct honor and pleasure to welcome Jan Benedict Steenkamp, and I'll use the Dutch pronunciation, as a new fellow of AMA. As some of you may have noticed from the trademark accent, JB was born and lived the largest part of his life in the Netherlands. The name Steenkamp is a very well-known name in the Netherlands because JB's father was a leading politician and he founded the Christian Democratic Party in the Netherlands. I'm very proud that now two people from my home country are a fellow of AMA, and both have a PhD from Wageningen University. And the story of how JB became my PhD supervisor, I'll save for another time. I have to say, as a real Dutchman, JB is an avid soccer fan, and that's one of the things that we unfortunately do not share. Needless to say, JB's accomplishments are incredibly impressive. They include over 100 publications in journals in marketing, management, strategy. He has written 5 books. His most recent book, as you see here, is Time to Lead. He has well over 50,000 citations. He was named the most cited scholar in our field and is in the top 0.5% across all academic disciplines. His work was covered in many media outlets: Harvard Business Review, Wall Street Journal, Economist, New York Times. And he received both the Churchill and EMAC Lifetime Achievement Awards, as well as an honorary doctorate from Aarhus University. And I have very fond memories of when together we received the Hendrik Muller Award. The Hendrik Muller Award was an award awarded by the Royal Dutch Academy of the Sciences, and it was the first time this was awarded to scholars in business. And if you look at my wall over there, you might see the award there. JB was the editor-in-chief of the International Journal of Research and Marketing, and the journal named a Best Paper Award after him. He's also the founder and executive director of IMARC, a very successful academic business collaborative institute, which is similar to MSI. And I think all of these accomplishments should be seen in the light of the state of the field of marketing in the Netherlands at the time that JB started his career. The Netherlands now has had only 3 generations of a handful of internationally known researchers. The first generation included Leeflang, Wittink, and Wieringa. The second generation includes Steenkamp, Peters, and myself. And these 2 generations really laid the foundations for the field of marketing in the Netherlands and in Europe. The third generation includes people like Van Heerde, Stremers, and Verhoef. And there will be a 4th generation that will undoubtedly include JB's daughter, Iris, who is now doing a PhD at LBS. And you see her here being rigorously trained by her father. JB moved away from the Netherlands to UNC in 2006, where he's the Knox Massey Distinguished Professor in Marketing. When JB started his career, there were no formal PhD programs in the Netherlands. It's important to take note of that. He started out as an assistant professor at the University of Wageningen with a full teaching load in 1985. And no more than 4 years later, he received his PhD and was promoted to an associate professor. There was no strong culture of publishing in the top journals in our field at the time in the Netherlands. And one story that I know JB likes to tell is that when we submitted our first paper to JMR, we received a reject and resubmit. And we were unfamiliar with the system at the time, and we were so disappointed that we decided to submit the paper elsewhere. In my view, one of the incredible strengths of JB is that he has always had a very good intuition for what is or will be important topics in our field. He's now an internationally renowned authority in global marketing, branding, and emerging markets, and he has taught and published and consulted extensively on these topics. He had such good intuitions already early on. JB's thesis dealt with product quality, and I remember at the time his outspoken reverence for somebody working in the same domain in the US, Valerie Zeithamel, and I guess that admiration lingered and deepened even further today. So my heartfelt congratulations to Jan Benedict Steenkamp and the other new fellows for being inducted as a 2021 AMA Fellow. Tremendous recognition for all you have contributed to AMA and the field of marketing.
Can I talk now, or Monica?
Yes, you're all good, JB.
Okay. Okay. So, do you see the camera? It doesn't work.
Yes, we can see you.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Thank you very much, Michel, for your very nice words. Just as you pronounce my name in Dutch, I also refuse to say Michel Wedel, but Wedel, which is the correct pronunciation. Thank you for your wonderful words, and thank you also AMA for the great honor. Completely unexpected. I happened to be working out, and I was just taking a breather when I checked my email, and I got an email from Anders Gustafsson about something like a fellow, and I didn't understand actually what it was because my workout was kind of strenuous, and then actually I understood it, and that was really nice. And the one person, the unsung hero in this, and that is an unsung hero for both Michel and myself, is we both share the same supervisor, the late Professor Michel Wedel, who came more from agriculture, so he has never in marketing published that much. He had done some stuff, but more in agricultural journals. But he has given me and Michel a lot of the rigor and a lot of the training and also a lot of the support. And Meulenberg has been forever my model of how to mentor a PhD student. I am not saying that I'm at this level, but I certainly try to emulate him. What I want to do in a few minutes, I want to talk a little bit about the issue of how marketing practice can inspire marketing science. And I know that is something that AMA cares a lot about as well. And I will just give you an example of 3 areas of research that I have been doing and how that was actually inspired and triggered by marketing practice. So my work on, let's say, I started to work in the field of international marketing, global marketing in the early 90s on, because there was a market research agency, GfK, it's a global agency, and they were seeing in their in their clients more and more interest to study issues at the pan-European and even at a global level, but they didn't really know much about it. It was relatively unexplored territory, and they reached out to me and they put a special chair position there at Wageningen, which I could have occupied. But the very fact that this market research agency, we're talking about the late 80s, early 90s, essentially saw already what its clients wanted. They also noted that they needed more knowledge to help them build information and knowledge with the clients. That really helped them, and it helped me, because it meant that essentially they helped me, and I got into that path, because the moment that these clients find it relevant, hey, that was interesting. And then at some point later on, I was doing research with a large company, and actually it was an American company, but with the European division, and I was for them doing work in a number of European countries, essentially to examine their brands and how they could do better. And I presented results of surveys that I did in these different countries to identify segments and other things. And I remember that very well. I gave that presentation that was at the meeting in Germany. And some of the people in the audience said, well, you know, Jan Benedict, these responses that you get in these different countries, can you really compare them? Because it is our experience that, say, when an Italian gives a 5 on the 5-point scale, it doesn't always translate as well as when a German gives a 5 on the 5-point scale. Now, so I had an answer to that, but actually I realized that the answer that I constructed on the spot was, to be honest, a little bit more the answer that you would give in an MBA class, essentially, you know, to show that you are not completely, say, off the game. But it meant that the moment that such a big company, we're talking about one of the most respected companies and marketeers in the world, had this issue, it suggested that it had a relevance that went way beyond, let's say, pure academics, and it kind of stimulated me to do a lot of work, and I continue to do that work, how to essentially assess cross-national comparability, how to correct for method variance, and all that kind of stuff. Again, some of that work, you know, if you would ask the company in question, they would look at some of those papers and say, well, actually, you know, this is perhaps a little bit beyond what we had in mind, but it was triggered by this concern. And the third area was when I was presenting some work at that same company, the boss, who later became the CEO of Unilever, the Anglo-Dutch giant, he took me apart. So we had an hour, just he and I talked about this. And he was talking me about the problem that they were facing with private labels, and also the problem that they were facing with hard discounters. Think about Aldi, Lidl, or, you know, Trader Joe's in America would also be an example of a hard discounter. And he said to me, Jan Benedict, the issue is, we can actually fight Nestlé, we can fight Unilever, we can fight Reckitt Benckiser, or etc., because we understand their business model. But we don't really understand the business model of why do people purchase private labels? What makes them strong? What are the economics behind private labels? And we even understand less about, okay, what about these hard discounters? They don't sell any of our brands. How can we compete with them? And that has led, so that was actually the moment that they got that has led to another stream of research in the area of private labels and in the hard discounters. And these were just 3 examples of, let's say, how actually marketing practice can inspire, at least it has inspired my research as a marketing academic, which then I try to give back again to marketing practice through various books that I wrote about global branding, about hard discounters, about private labels, and seminars, etc. But so I, in my career, have benefited tremendously from the inspiration that I got from marketing practice. And therefore I know Kay was a former MSI director, which MSI has obviously the point of bringing marketing practice and marketing academia closer together. It has always resonated with me very much. And I want to keep it like that. Thank you so much for the honor.
Thank you, JB. And thank you, Michel, as well. Our next scholar has focused her career in branding, and in this case, the consumer behavior perspective. In addition to her scholarly contribution, Dr. Deborah MacInnis is highly regarded for her mentorship of emerging scholars, particularly in encouraging more theoretical and conceptual scholarship. To introduce Debbie is Robin Coulter. Robin is professor and Voya Financial Fellow at the University of Connecticut. Robin and Debbie were classmates in their PhD program at Pitt.
Thank you, Kay. I'm very privileged to be here today to participate in honoring Debbie as a 2021 AMA Fellow. As Kay mentioned, Debbie and I were doctoral students at the University of Pittsburgh in the mid-1980s in a culture that the cohort often referred to as Camelot, where goodness reigned, where Jerry Zaltman and C.W. Park strongly encouraged an intellectual atmosphere that appreciated the diversity of thought, curiosity, and imagination with the purpose of mattering to marketing. Without question, Debbie has moved through her career bringing imagination and insights to many different aspects of our field. And I want to highlight just 4 of those domains that have been important to me and perhaps to many of you as well. First, as Kay was mentioning, Debbie's work on branding has been at the fore and has been enduring. Her early work in Journal of Marketing in 1986 with C.W. Park and Bernie Jaworski offered a normative framework guiding firm positioning strategies to build brand image. And her recent books and edited volumes speak to fostering consumer brand relationships and also providing actionable guidance to brand managers. I encourage you to listen to Debbie's taped fellows address where she shares her forward thinking on brand attachment. Second, Debbie has been a voice of inspiration about deep thinking. In this light, I very much appreciate Debbie's 2011 Journal of Marketing article, A Framework for Conceptual Contributions in Marketing. This article is a classic. Debbie lays bare the challenges and offers guidance to us to bring divergent and logical thinking styles and comparative and syllogistic reasoning styles to organize meanings around marketing concepts and actions. Third, I draw your attention to Debbie's 2003 JAMS article, Responsibilities of a Good Reviewer, Lessons Learned from Kindergarten. I love this 2-page article. Debbie suggests to us to follow some principles we learned early in our lives, and her commentary and metaphors strike home. They appeal to the greater good, to do well by others, to bring curiosity, imagination, tolerance, and fortitude to our discipline for the creation of marketing knowledge. And finally, I note Debbie's Maynard Award-winning article with her doctoral student, Gustavo de Mello, and their exploration of hope in the realm of possibilities in the context of consumption and marketing. Today in 2021, I expect that we have more to learn about hope as we hope for new beginnings, social justice, truth, honesty, and peace, that we as marketing scholars hope to make a difference in this world, making a better world. As I wrap up, I want to return to our University of Pittsburgh roots, to others who have shared time together and have been honored as AMA Fellows, Jerry Zaltman and Linda Price, Ajay Kohli and Chris Moorman and Bernie Jaworski. In ordinary times, we would gather together in person to celebrate and toast and hug Debbie, but these are not ordinary times. And so in the absence of our gathering, I'm pleased to share the voices of Pitt AMA Fellows to congratulate Debbie. From Jerry Zaltman, what has always impressed me about Debbie from her first days as a doctoral student to today is a special capacity to review literature and to distill its worthy and unworthy causal reasonings. A highly innovative mind requires this skill as building ground for scholarly imagination, and Debbie is one constructively imaginative scholar. From Linda Price, Debbie lights up a room with her intellectual energy and imagination. Rather than shining a light on the holes and snares in an idea, she shines a light and a magical smile and a laugh on what's possible and engaging. From Ajay Kohli, Debbie is an amazing scholar. The intensity, thoroughness, and creativity with which she does her research is always an inspiration. From Chris Moorman, Debbie has impacted the marketing and consumer research disciplines with her insightful research and longstanding service to the discipline. She is also one of the warmest and most empathetic people of our field. And from Bernie Jaworski, Debbie is exceptionally creative with novel ideas and has truly advanced the theory and practice of marketing. She will have a lasting impact on the field. Debbie, for your making meanings matter in marketing, for your dedication to teaching, for your leadership in our disciplines organizations, for your guiding editorial roles, and for your steadfast mentorship. We offer our respect and sincere thanks, and we celebrate you being named an AMA Fellow. Please join me in congratulating and welcoming Debbie MacInnis, the Charles L. and Ramona I. Hilliard Professor of Business Administration and Professor of Marketing at Southern California's Marshall School of Business.
Thank you, Robin. Can everyone hear me? Okay. I would like to first thank Robin for those generous and kind remarks. I am truly honored and humbled to have been selected as an AMA Fellow, and I'm so grateful to the Fellows Committee for considering me for this prestigious honor. I'd like to take this time to thank many people in my life who have made my marketing career so fulfilling and rewarding. Next slide. At the University of Pittsburgh, C.W. Park and Jerry Zaltman were willing to admit a psychology student with absolutely no prior experience in business and take a chance on me. There, Linda Price and Larry Fike, and later Rajiv Grover and Rajiv Kohli were among the faculty who left a deep impression on me. The next slide. I'm grateful for the people who went through the PhD program with me, all of whom are friends and some of whom are co-authors. Among them include my dear friends, Bernie Jaworski, Chris Moorman, Ajay Kohli, Robin Coulter, and Dan Smith. Next slide. I'm grateful to the late Joe Newman, who hired me and Bernie at our first academic jobs at the University of Arizona. There, I met and learned from exceptionally smart people, including Mary Brooks, Melanie Wallendorf, Kent Nakamoto, Jonathan Frenzen, Dipankar Chakravarti, Ambar Rao, and the late Susan Heckler. I also had the chance to work with some amazing PhD students, including Stuart Shapiro, Shankar Krishnan, and Chang Jo Yu. Arizona holds a very special place in my heart as well, since it was here that our two beautiful children, the lights of my life, Katie and Ryan, Jaworski clones, as you can see from this picture, were born. The next slide. At USC, I'm grateful that Gary Frazier, then department chair, helped us launch the next leg of our career and make USC our home. There, I eventually collaborated with dear colleagues and friends, among whom include Valerie Folks, Kristen Deal, Gulden Yuckelman, Joe Priester, and others such as Jerry Tellis, Lisa Kavanaugh, Chris Porath, Dave Stewart, and my dear husband, Alan Weiss. The next slide. At USC, having been at USC for 27 years, I'm also grateful for the PhD students who I've mentored or had in classes. These are people who I consider to be my family. I've published with people who include Rajesh Chandy, Joseph Johnson, Vanessa Patrick, Matt Thompson, Gustavo de Mello, Heyun Chun, Gratiana Pohl, Leanne Novak, Steve Kopich, Martin Ryman, and Gustavo de Mello. I deeply appreciate, on the next slide, the opportunity that I've had with many people that I've had to work with throughout the course of my career in various professional capacities, including the people who are noted on this slide, in the first line, as well as the people who are noted in the second slide. I close in the last slide by offering some thoughts and prayers to those colleagues in Texas who are reeling from freezing weather and infrastructure failures, as well as those who are suffering the ill effects of COVID, some of whom are my own friends and members of my family. Thank you again for taking the time to listen to this talk. Thank you, Robin, for your kind and generous remarks. I'm extremely happy that the money that I paid you to pay off for those kind remarks went to good use. And I thank Kay and Monica and others who helped make this possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie, and thank you, Robin. We now welcome Professor Dave Stewart in the 2021 AMA Class of Fellows next. Dave has challenged established research by exploring the intersections of marketing, public policy, and law. He has nurtured scholarship across the discipline, serving as editor-in-chief of not one, but 3 scholarly journals: Journal of Marketing, Journal of the Academy of Marketing Science, and Journal of Public Policy and Marketing, and as VP of Publications for the AMA. Dave, I just think you're a glutton for punishment, but we thank you. We welcome Dave's former student, Professor of Marketing at the University of California, Irvine, Connie Pechmann to say a few words about Dave. Welcome, Connie.
Hello, everyone. This is bittersweet to be talking to David and about David, because he's been an important part of my life ever since I joined the PhD program at Vanderbilt. And one of the things I'd like to point out first is that he's been a huge advocate for women in the field. And frankly, I wouldn't even be in academia if it weren't for him. My story was I was at Vanderbilt in a clinical psych program and I hated it. So I went over to the business school to see if I could get an MBA instead. And there were no female faculty in ladder positions at all, and only 15% women. And when I walked over there, they looked and said, "You don't have any STEM background." They didn't count statistics, and they didn't even want me into the MBA program. And Dave, I went and talked to him because someone told me to speak to him because he had a psychology background like me. And he just turned the table and he said, "No, you have a very strong background. We'll make you stronger in STEM. Please join not only our MBA program, but our PhD program." And many times during those first years, I ran into walls because I was female, people questioning my qualifications and so forth. And Dave very calmly, but very firmly shut everyone down. And he has been doing this ever since for many other women, Ingrid Martin, and just all through decades, helping women. I'm sure he's also helped men. And just making sure that everyone is treated fairly and that everyone is treated with respect, and that those things that we bring to the table are appreciated, even if we might come from a different background or look different from everyone else that was there previously. So when I looked at his Vita, there's 52 pages, and so it's hard to go through everything. But all I can say is since this mid-70s until now, he's been extremely active as an academic scholar. He still has several papers in revised and resubmitted top journals right to this day. He is primarily a methodologist, so the things that have really hit in terms of having huge citations have been his methodological papers and books. He has, by the way, published at least 11 books, but probably his most impactful piece is he wrote a book on focus groups, which has 9,000 citations, more than many of us have in our entire career. He wrote a secondary research book with 800 citations, an internet research methods group with 800 citations, and so on. And also, his paper in JMR on cluster analysis has 3,000 citations, which is almost unheard of for a single paper. And his paper on JMR on factor analysis is 900 citations. So you can see that what he did is he's tried to take what are important methodological skills and disseminate them to practitioners and to academics, but primarily taking these academic methodological approaches and making sure that practitioners could use them. And what he instilled in me and others who he's mentored is that we don't want to just talk amongst academics ourselves, but we really want to do work that can help practitioners. That's why we're in a business school instead of a psychology department. And so I've always kept that in the back of my mind in everything I've ever done. And he's given me he's allowed me to be brave, because that isn't actually a very common approach, although it is among a lot of the fellows today. But in general, the focus has been more on talking among academics, and he's always told us to look at policymakers and look at managers and believe that you can influence them, because you can if you try. I'm also very impressed with what an amazing job Dave did as editor of not only Journal of Marketing, but JAMS, which he helped elevate to a top tier journal, and Journal of Public Policy and Marketing. Most recently, he's been the VP of Publications of AMA and has helped to choose Chris Moorman as the editor of JM, and she's doing an absolutely fantastic job, as you probably know. He's also been an incredible administrator. So when I met him at Vanderbilt, he became in the dean role there, and then he served as in a dean's role at USC, and then he became the dean of the business school at my sister institution, UC Riverside, and did an excellent job there. He's also an SCP fellow, and he's been a long-standing consultant to the FTC to help them with policy issues. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to David. I wish I could give you a hug, Dave, but I can't.
Well, thank you very much, Connie, for that. Yeah, I would very much like a hug. Maybe we'll find time. And I appreciate you.
Hey, Dave,
yes?
Before you start, can you start your video? We don't see you.
It went off. Okay, thank you.
There we go. That's better.
Okay.
Sorry for the interruption. I just want to be able to see you.
Yeah. You know, listening to Connie, it occurred to me that I've been much more of a dilettante than I thought. I've done a lot of things in my career, and I've appreciated the opportunities to work with many people. I thought about putting together slides such as Debbie to thank everyone, but I realized that I don't have time to thank everybody by name. I'd have to start with family, with teachers, actually going all the way back to a fourth grade teacher. I've had wonderful colleagues in my career. I've been at Vanderbilt, at University of Southern California, at University of California, Riverside, and now at Loyola Marymount. I've had wonderful colleagues at all of those places. I got into this field as a young psychologist when Bill Wells hired me as a researcher at what was then Needham Harbor and Steers Advertising, DDB. And that's sort of the way I made my way into marketing. I would be remiss as well if I didn't thank my students. I've learned so much from my students. I've had the opportunity to work with great students, doctoral students, Connie being one of them, but also wonderful undergraduates and wonderful MBA students who have brought me interesting perspectives, interesting problems, interesting insights that have really informed my interests, my research, and my practice as a consultant. I won't take a lot of time because I want us to spend a little bit of time honoring Jerome. Like Beth, I have had a long relationship with Jerome, very much appreciated him. He was very active in the Marketing Society Special Interest Group. And in that regard, we had a great deal of interaction. He was a wonderful individual, a wonderful scholar, wonderful administrator. If you look at my video, you will see that I have a number of things to say about our profession and about our society. I'm inherently an optimist. I believe that our profession and our society are on a strong upward trend, despite what you may see in the news media. If you look at the progress that we've made in the 100 to 120 years that marketing has been a profession, there has been enormous increases in affluence, enormous increases in quality of life. And while I don't think marketing can take all of the credit for those positive changes, I think that we can take some credit for them. I believe we have much to contribute as a discipline, and we can do more. What I would like to see in marketing is a greater focus on our contributions to the firm and to society at large. I'm proud of what we do as marketers. I think we focus on things that are fundamental to society, such as how do you get goods and services from producers to buyers? And that's fundamental to the livelihood, the success of a society. That's what we do. That's what identifies us. That's why we became a discipline. And I would hope that we might rediscover those roots. I believe that the real identity of marketing resides in our expertise in the creation and management of value delivery systems. And I think we're seeing ample evidence today of where we could, as marketers, make important contributions to society in things as simple as how do you get a vaccine from one place to another. And for all of these reasons, I'm so proud to be a marketer, and I'm so proud that my peers in marketing have recognized me as a fellow. I'm proud of you, my peers, and I'm proud of the honor that you've bestowed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Connie. We conclude our evening by remembering our friend, colleague, and inductee into the 2021 class of AMA Fellows, Jerome Williams. Jerome passed away last month unexpectedly. Jerome was an exceptional mentor, scholar, and teacher. He was a trailblazer who laid the foundations for people of color in academia through his research work, his guidance to other scholars, and his kindness as an individual. We had a special session yesterday with a retrospective on Jerome's impact on the field, and I encourage you to watch it. The impact that he has made on the field and the amazing stories shared by his colleagues, friends, and students make me proud to be a member of the marketing academic community and to have called Jerome a friend. Folks at Rutgers asked Jerome about his induction into the AMA Fellows, and he stated, "This is particularly significant to me because the AMA is the premier organization of marketing. I think of two areas where I've made a contribution, which I think distinguish me. I've played a major role in legitimizing the role of race in marketing research and in opening up the path for others." Jerome served in various leadership roles connected to the AMA. He served on the AMA Board of Directors from 2011 to 2015, as well as chairing the AMA Foundation. Under his leadership, the AMA increased its partnership with a PhD project and expanded financial resources for underrepresented doctoral students. He was a pillar of the marketing and public policy community, attending the MPPC conference every year, often with his wife Lillian, and co-chairing the event in 2017. He was active in AMA up until his passing, serving as an associate editor of JPP&M. Alongside Bill Qualls and Thad Spratlin, Jerome founded the Williams Qualls Spratlin Multicultural Mentoring Award of Excellence, WQS, in 2009. The AMA Foundation WQS Award carries on their legacy and recognizes outstanding mentors in the marketing community in the mold of Williams, Qualls, and Spratlin. Yesterday, in a session recognizing Jerome's impact, one colleague said so well, "A few people do good works. Fewer make others better." That was Jerome. My own experience of Jerome was his kindness, his contagious smile, and of course, his great shirts. Due to his lifetime of service and impactful research focused on multicultural marketing and marketplace discrimination, Jerome Williams was inducted into the 2021 class of AMA Fellows. Jerome's family is here this afternoon, and his son will say a few words on behalf of the family. Please welcome Dante Williams.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for the kind words. And on behalf of my father, Jerome Williams, my mother, Lillian Williams, and the rest of our family, which includes the 5 children and the 12 grandchildren, we really want to thank you for recognizing my father for the years of hard work that he's put into his career. And when he was speaking to us not too long ago, he was really honored to be considered for this prestigious distinction of being an AMA fellow. And it's my understanding that a lot of the criteria is based off of the contribution that has been made to the field. And over the last few weeks, we've all, as far as our family members, we've heard from different colleagues, friends, students, teammates, people that he's mentored. And they've talked to us, they've voiced to us about the impact that he's made in not only their career, but their lives. So to be honest, I'm probably not qualified to speak about the professional contributions of my father because for me, he played a different role. But what I can tell you about is what I've observed, what I've learned from him as his son and learning about his core values. So I've summed it up into really three areas: his faith, his fitness, and his family. As far as his faith, what I picked up from him was he was very humble. He never felt like he knew it all. His glass was never full, so to speak. So I saw his spiritual routine, his activities, his reading, his studying, his attending and participating in meetings. And I know that that discipline of being humble also helped him in his career, because in his career, he always showed up. He was always ready and willing to learn from others. The other thing that I picked up from my father was his fitness. Now, he ran in approximately 40 marathons. And as remarkable as that is, it wasn't the most impactful for me. What was most impactful for me was the fact that he never missed a day. He never missed a day that I saw running, exercising, his workout and fitness routine. And we lived in some extreme climates as far as weather. In Colorado, Pennsylvania, State College, the snow there, also the tropical climate and the heat and humidity of Singapore. And this included times when he may not have been feeling well. He may have been sick, but he never missed a day because he relied on his habit and not on his willpower. See, the decision was already made in advance what he was going to do, and he didn't wait to see what he felt like doing. He did it anyway. And that determination, that persistence, that never quit attitude, I also think served him well in his career. And the last area I'd like to talk about is his family. And the reason why I only left it at family and not friends is because if you were his friend, you were basically his family. There was no distinction for him. And that was characterized by his intense love for his family. And it wasn't so much what he said, it was what he did. It was his actions, his unwavering support. He would sacrifice his time, his money, his effort, and his energy, all for the benefit of others. And that love also translated into his work because he really loved his work. And the work was never about him. The work was about how he could impact others. It was about how he could pave the way for others so that they could advance further than him. So as I reflect on the life of my father, I think back to a child and playing sports. And whenever you play sports, whatever the sport is, a lot of times you'll have a favorite player that you want to model your game after. What I realize now is my father, Jerome Williams, was that person for a lot of people in the different roles that he played for them. He was somebody that they modeled their game after. And what I realize now more than ever is I don't need to look for a role model for life. I don't need to look far for a hero in life because that person was always right there for my whole life. And that was my dad, Jerome Williams. So on behalf of the family, we'd like to thank you again for honoring him with this prestigious recognition.
Dante, thank you so much. We appreciate your reflections. We appreciate you and your family members being here with us today, and we remember Jerome fondly. And in closing, thank you to all the fellows We once again congratulate our class of 2021. And thank you to all of us for joining us this afternoon and for joining us at the entire Winter AMA conference, which has been a great success. To continue the celebration, the SIG receptions are next. We actually have about 14 minutes before them, so you can hang out on the chat for a couple minutes and keep chatting with others. But please return to the Exordo homepage for links to the SIGs, which I think will be Zooms, and maybe you have time to go get a little refreshment or something. And thank you all for joining us at this extraordinary event. Thanks again. It's been my pleasure to be here with you all.